What is the best way you've seen a guy hit on a girl? Story number 1. One of my best pickups was in a nightclub, several drinks and feeling confident and wanting to find a girl to talk to and get to know. I see an attractive girl sitting alone, checking her phone, seemingly bored and desperately hoping for someone like me to come along. As I walk over, another guy sits down. The audacity. How could he not know from my Zoolander-like walk that I was to engage with her in pleasant conversation? This needed to be rectified. Did you fight him? I hear you say. I did not. Did you wait till she rejected him? I did not. I did, however, pretend to be her brother. Yes, that old chestnut. I sat down next to her, interrupting the awkwardness of this guy's opening chat. I must caveat that she seemed in no way interested in him at the time, and so I made the reasonable assumption that she'd find me more enjoyable. His immediate reaction was that of great disdain for my actions. How dare I trespass while he delivers his game? The girl wasn't too bothered, though, more intrigued as to what I was playing at. Him. Excuse me, mate, you lost. Me. No. All good, thanks. How about you? Him. Can we help you? We're talking, so if you don't mind, disappear. Me. Oh, not at all. I'm her brother. Please continue, putting my arm around the back of her chair. At this point, I'm expecting the girl to call me out, but she turns to look at me and smiles, validating my approach. Him. Oh, so sorry, mate. I'm Phil. I was just talking to. Hasn't asked her name yet. Rookie. Me. Sophie. She looked like a Sophie. Him. Sophie. What she's studying. Phil spent the next 20 minutes trying to become my best friend. However, things just became more and more awkward for poor Phil, asking questions like, "So, what made you want to talk to my sister? How do you feel about one-night stands? How many girls have you slept with this semester?" I was quite mean. Then I decided enough was enough. Sophie was giggling and enjoying the entertainment. Phil was not. I decided to wrap things up. Me. Phil, do you find my sister attractive? Phil. Well, yeah, she's really pretty. Me. Stunning, isn't she? Probably an 8 or a 9. Phil. Yeah, getting a bit creeped out. Me. Don't you just want to kiss her? At this point I turn to her to gauge the reaction. I wink. She smiles. She's in. I lean in and kiss her, to Phil's absolute disgust. The guy doesn't know what to do with himself. Discomfort has been taken to a new level. As we finish our kiss, I watch as it finally clicks with Phil. Confusion quickly into astonishment. I could see his shoulders tightening, wanting to get angry. But then he did something else. He leaned over, put his hand on my shoulder, smiled, and said, "Well played," got up and walked away, leaving me to find out what Sophie's real name was. Story number 2. I went to college thousands of miles from home. First day in the dorm, I spent looking at the wall, feeling sorry for myself. Second day, I went to a mall on the bus, but I hate malls, so I ended up in an arcade playing skibble. Yes, I'm that old. For those that don't know, it's a game where you win tickets, which you can then trade in for useless crap. The crap I got was a stuffed sheep about the size of a small loaf of bread. I then go home and cry myself to sleep out of loneliness. Next day, I wake up, classes still hadn't started, and decide to meet people. On a whim, I take the stuffed sheep and tie a string to it. I went down to the common area and sat down near a wall, and then threw the sheep out, so it was just around the corner. First girl walks up and looks at the sheep and looks at me. I pull the string. She gets a funny look on her face and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm fishing for friends." She just laughed and walked off. Second girl who comes by picks up the sheep and I pulled it out of her hands. She laughs and asks what I'm doing. I say, "I'm fishing for friends." She says, "You should just try talking to them." I said, "What do you think we're doing?" We went to lunch, dated for a while. It was awesome. Funniest thing though, I married the first girl. Story number 3. Some buddies and I were at a bar just hanging out after work. There was a really pretty girl sitting at the bar with this guy next to her, who was talking her ear off. I don't remember much about him, but he was wearing a baseball cap backwards. So one of us, we'll call him John, had just had a kind of depressing breakup and wanted to approach this girl, so we all get to talking about the best strategy Someone, we'll call him Mark, suggests John slip her a note. What should it say? John asks. Someone, we'll call him Joe, says, this guy looks like a douche, I might be one too, but you'll never know unless you call me, phone number. We all laugh, and John gets a napkin and starts writing. His handwriting looks like a little kid's, so we agree that the person with the best handwriting should write the note. I take the napkin and write it out, but John starts getting cold feet. He doesn't want to sit around awkwardly, waiting to see if she calls or even reads the note. So we agree, we'll all head for the door, and he'll hang back a little and pass her the note before joining us on the walk to the subway. So we execute the plan. It goes perfectly. We see her check the note while backwards baseball cap is still chattering away, and she laughs and slips it in her pocket without saying a thing to the guy she calls John before we're a block away. They date for a few weeks. Turns out she'd recently had a rough breakup too, and it ends when they both kind of start feeling like it's getting too serious too soon, but I think they're still friends. Story number 4. A Marine friend of mine was on leave. We were taking him bar hopping, and of course he was determined to go home with a woman. His method, however, was questionable. Every new bar or club we went into, he would radar around the room, lock on to the best-looking girl there, regardless of whether she was alone, already being flirted with, or with someone who was very obviously her so, and he would march up to her and ask in a very confident and sincere way, "Can I pee in your butt?" He would then work his way down the attractiveness ladder before that particular bar was exhausted of prospects. Most of the time they laughed. A few times he was slapped. One girl straight up punched him, and of course, a few unimpressed boyfriends had their say, but he kept at it. About a month after he went back to Afghanistan, he was killed in action. Amongst our group of friends were convinced that he had mistakenly used up every last bit of luck he had, avoiding getting knocked right out while endeavoring to pee in a girl's butt that night. About an hour before last call, and on what might have been the 7th try in this particular bar, I saw him walk up to a blonde who had her face buried in her phone. They were too far away, and the bar was too loud for me to hear, but I could read his lips well enough. "Excuse me, can I pee in your butt?" She stopped texting, looked up, grinned, grabbed his arm, and practically dragged him to her car. I never got the chance to ask him, but I like to think he peed in her butt that night. Story number 5. My 5-year-old nephew looked at my girlfriend's shoes and said, "I like your shoes," then looked her dead eye and says, "You're so pretty." All I could think was, nice shoes wanna fuck.